The Gentlementor.
Okay, so the intro
All right.
is it's the Gentlementor. We're back again to annoy everyone with our banter and
Hey.
a very special guest. What's so important today is we have the special guest, JD from History Underground on the YouTube. Is it History Underground, not Underground History, right? Did I get that right, or
Yeah,
did I get it wrong? Okay,
No,
on YouTube.
nailed it.
Okay, well, we'll do all kinds of. I'll do some fancy graphics and stuff, and then I'll have your Twitter, and we'll get people annoying you. I just want to share what you do with people. I enjoy it so greatly. Of course, everyone's been through this COVID mishap, which has sent everyone into looking for indoor entertainment. And over the course of the summer, I discovered your videos. I was interested to see you. I watched your kind of podcast discussion with Iron Mike, who's somebody that I had already been watching previously. A couple other guys that do metal detecting on European battlefields and stuff that I've been kind of following. You started talking to. I'm going to sidetrack myself. Watch this.
No way.
You started talking to him about magnet fishing, and that's something we picked. I'd never heard of it, and it was one of those things we kind of started watching videos over the summer. It's like, well, isn't this interesting? Maybe when things get better, we'll try this. That looks like fun. Like kind of low tech, low budget sort of thing. So I have so much admiration for the work that you do, where your heart's at in it, and the quality of work that you do. It's outstanding.
Definitely.
But here we are to learn about JD and to present him to whoever's listening to us, so you can go and check out what he does, because you will love it. And if you don't, I will give you your money back. So without any further ado,
double your money back.
Our new friend JD is here to share with us, and welcome to what we do.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. Looking forward to kind of chatting with you guys a little bit. And yeah,
awesome,
thank you for the kind words. I really do appreciate that.
No, man, the honor is ours. It is tremendous
Definitely.
to have you here. So glad that you joined us. And so we've already given you the preview round of questions.
Uh-huh.
So if you're ready to start, I'd just like to hear about like where you grew up, what your childhood experiences were, what it was that you feel gave you this kind of you seem to have a real focus on history, a real love for it.
Yeah.
And that's uncommon among humanity right now or in general. So I'm there too, but I'd just like to hear about how you got there. So fire away.
Sure. So I grew up in the Midwest, and I guess I kind of grew up in a family of storytellers. And, people ask me, where I kind of got my passion for history. And really, it comes from a few different places. I have two grandpas that served one in World War II. He was stationed in the Aleutian Islands on Adak Island during World War II. And then my other grandpa was a combat engineer in the 40th Infantry Division in the Korean War. So growing up, my grandpa on my dad's side, he died whenever I was 12. So I didn't get to have as much life experience with him as I did my other grandpa. But with both of them, I would ask them questions, and I'd look at pictures and have them tell me stories and things like that. It always fascinated me. So with my one grandpa who was in the Korean War, he was always telling my brother and I stories about what it was like growing up during the Great Depression, and he would take us out and he would show us all of these old places, and then also my dad, he grew up during really the height of the Cold War, and his big thing was the space program, like the Apollo programs and things like that. So I spent a lot of time watching documentaries with him, and him kind of teaching me the things that he knew. Whenever he was a kid, he had sat and watched the live coverage of Neil Armstrong taking the first step on the moon. So that really kind of kick-started my love of history. As far as the YouTube channel goes, my background is as a history educator. And I also have a background in video production. So I've worked in the outdoor
no wonder
industry.
It goes so well together.
Yeah. So I've done quite a bit of work in the outdoor industry on
Okay.
hunting shows. Yeah. Had a show that I co-produced with a guy up in Iowa named Joe Sir. The name of that show was Hallowed Ground Outdoors. Ran it for about 6 years. And then I still do work in the outdoor industry in addition to the work that I do in education. Got a couple different TV shows that I work with and do post-production work for.
How long have you been doing that?
So
The production aspect of it.
the production aspect, I'm going to have to think about that for just a second.
I won't
Let's
fact
see.
check you.
Probably. So whenever I first got into it, it was, I started a little company that was going to make hunting DVDs. And we got into the DVD market just in time to watch it die. So
Nice.
then I linked up, as far as like the hunting aspect goes, people just weren't buying them anymore, or it was phasing out by the time we were really getting into it. Anyway, ended up linking up with this guy in Iowa named Joe Sir, who has a company now called Risen Media. They do outstanding work. And I still work with him quite a bit too. But anyway, we had the TV show for 6 seasons, and then, did commercial work, and, I still do all that kind of stuff. So the short answer to your question that I took a roundabout way of answering is about 15 years.
Yeah, we don't allow that here. No rabbit trails. Concise. Try 10 words or less.
Right.
So you come up and you've got this family of storytellers, and I share a similar story. Like I said, I had a step grandfather and my grandfather, both my mother's father and stepfather, who were both World War II veterans. One was wounded at the Battle of the Bulge. Mm-hmm. And I grew up with those guys telling these fantastic stories. I had an Uncle Charlie who was renowned, and every story was funny, and most of them were complete BS, but he told great stories. Right. And he would invest you in. I also had a grandma who was born in the 1880s, and she told us stories about coming across from the East Coast in covered wagon.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. And that blew my mind. Yeah. I mean, I was like, you did what?
Yeah.
But she told us that story, like one of the big German family with 9 kids and, infant mortality through the roof. And I think she had 3 or 4 kids that died. And it was just this horrendous stories. And the woman who came up through the Depression, and like after she died, they were finding food that she had hoarded in her, in her dressers and stuff, because she was always worried that it was going to happen again. And it was just that, but it was so vivid being around that group of people. So how did you make that leap into the video, education, all that stuff? Somewhere you did all that, I assume, and then that led to YouTube.
Yeah. Complete accident. So in the school that I teach in, I had a history classes, and then also had a media class where I teach practical skills, like with video editing and different things like that. And I'd been out traveling and had taken some videos at the U.S. Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio on a vacation that I was on. Anyway, put together a little thing. I just filmed it with my phone. And whenever I got to a section on World War II where we were talking about the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I showed these little videos. And my students said, "Hey, you should start a YouTube channel." And I said, "That sounds like a terrible idea. I don't know that anybody would want to watch it." And they were like, "No, seriously, you really should start a YouTube channel." So I thought, well, I kind of thought about it for a while. And these kids, that's all they watch is YouTube.
Right.
It's where they consume most of their media. So I thought, well, maybe I can start making some videos, try and make them, with a little bit of a slick edge as far as production quality, but also film it in a way that's, what's the word I'm looking for, accessible. Make it feel like you're kind of, along the ride.
Right.
So it's kind of like a virtual field trip in a way. Anyway, did a few of those, and they really liked them a lot. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll keep doing it. And if other people find value in it, well, then they can use it too. What I didn't anticipate whenever I started that channel. So the first video that I posted was Memorial Day of 2019. And what I didn't know at the time is that within a year we were going to have a global pandemic and school shutdowns and
Right on.
everything like that. Um, so it ended up um, kind of blossoming a little bit from there, and was getting messages from teachers and students saying, "Hey, I really like this and really appreciate it. My teacher's showing me these videos." And then earlier this year, let's see, that would have been May, I guess. Um, I got an email from YouTube that said, "Congratulations, you've been named YouTube's creator on the rise." And I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
okay." I didn't think anything
That's
of it.
cool.
I was like, "Oh, well, that was kind of nice of them." Um, and turns out um, that ended up being a little bit bigger deal than what I knew. It got put on their trending page, and the channel absolutely exploded from there.
I was going to say the channel's just like a year old, right?
About a year and
Something
a
like
half.
that, year
Yeah,
and a
about
half, and
year and a half.
you're how many subscribers? You just did a big giveaway. Was it
Yeah. Yeah, just did a big giveaway at 75,000.
75,000?
But right now it's, I think, at 84,000 subscribers is what it's hanging at right now.
Nice.
So, which, I mean,
But that's organic growth. I mean, even with YouTube giving you the boost, I mean, you're not going out buying subs and stuff like that. It's
oh
just
gosh,
because you
no,
do a
no,
quality product. Yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah.
Yeah, my philosophy has always been, I mean, even in my videos, as far as like the history traveler videos, I don't, say, "Hey, subscribe to my channel or do this or do that." I don't fault anybody that does. But I've always been of the opinion, if people like it, if they feel like I've earned it, then they'll subscribe. Now there have been a few other little videos that I may have said something, but yeah, it's all been organic growth. And
Well, I
uh,
think you turn out a quality product, man. People will show
uh,
up.
Sure.
it just excites me to see people interested in history,
Oh yeah.
and wanting to learn. So that, and really, what selfishly, um, what I get out of it is I learn so much myself out of doing these videos. So I'll post a video and I'll have tons of people that'll send me comments that'll say, "Hey, you should check out this," or, "Hey, whenever you were here, this is what that thing actually was." Because I mean, I'm just a monkey with a camera out there, really. Um, so, but that's one thing that I really get a lot of enjoyment out of, is just the opportunity to learn.
Right on. We had talked earlier in the year, again before the COVID thing became quite as what it turned out to be. We had talked about doing a kind of an extended road trip for like 2 weeks, just to go out and kind of meet people and interact with people
Yeah.
and get to learn. That's one of my favorite things is when you bring the guy up in Maine the other day when you were at the what was it? I can't think of what it was called.
At Origin? At the
No, not at
facility?
Origin. Well, that was good too. The
Oh,
one on the island where
yeah.
I
Yeah,
commented
Danny.
about that guy. It was like, man, to meet somebody like that can take you into those places and kind of show you
Oh,
stuff you would walk. I would walk by that and not even know it was there. Uh,
that was amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I wanted to be there. I just wanted to like you could smell it.
so another kind of cool story of like some of the people that I've met. I was down in Birmingham, Alabama, and the name of the video is, I think, a KKK church bombing in Birmingham.
Right.
But
Great video.
went to where, thank you, went to this church that was bombed by the KKK, killed these poor little girls during, I think, was it 1963? Is it in the early 60s? But anyway, in that video, there's, I think it's right at the very beginning of it. There's a gentleman that I'm with named Anthony.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't say anything about it in the video, but people could maybe figure it out. Anthony was homeless, and just walked up to me on the street there, and started talking to me, started conversing with him, and this dude knew his stuff. I mean,
Wow.
it was phenomenal, all of the things that he knew, and he had lived there. He was a kid, went to the same school, I think, as one of the girls, who was killed in that church bombing.
Oh, wow.
So he starts showing me around all of these
Mhm.
places and saying, hey, this is where this happened. This is where this happened. And if you look at this monument, this is what it means. So yeah, it's cool to meet some of the people too.
Oh yeah, that's it. Everything becomes so much more real. You know, it's buildings and places, and it can be of limited interest, but when there's a human factor to it,
Yeah.
and it becomes an interchange.
Here's what was funny is, oh my gosh, it must have been 6 months later. Um, I got an email from somebody that said, hey, I went to Birmingham and got a tour of that park from Anthony. So they went there and
Oh,
found
wow.
me.
That's
Well,
cool.
you said something like that at the end of the video. If you're ever in Birmingham, you try to find Anthony or something like that. And I'm like,
Yeah,
cool.
somebody did
Who
it.
knows? He might turn it into a career. It might be a cottage industry for him.
He could do it. He could do
It
it.
sounded like it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's what he was able to add to what you were doing was just
Yeah.
impeccable. Did you have something you were going to say, Mark? I felt like I kind of cut you off there when I jumped in that last time.
That's all right. I'm used to it. No, I'm no, I'm just speaking of the stories, because I know the stories are probably you could probably just go on for hours about the stories and things like
Yeah.
that. But now that you've got this, we're connected globally now with YouTube and all this stuff. What kind of stories have you found through the comments and things online who are connecting with your videos? Maybe people that have connected across the globe that haven't seen since, some time in history. Is there anything really cool like that that just floored you?
I'm constantly just kind of humbled and dumbstruck at the people that reach out to me and send me messages and things like that, talking about how much they enjoy the channel and how much it means to them and everything like that. Because I genuinely don't get it. I mean, I enjoy doing what I do.
But you're making it.
Yeah.
You love it enough to do the work.
Yeah. So it's still just kind of, it leaves me a little bit dumbstruck that people enjoy it as much as they do. Probably the comment that floored me. There's one video where I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I go to the Chattanooga National Cemetery, and there's all kinds of different notable graves there. There's Andrews Raiders. These were the guys who were awarded the very first Medal of Honor.
The train guys.
Yes. Yep. That stole
I learned that from you.
There's a bunch of German POWs from World War II that are buried there.
Wow.
But also in that video, I go to as a matter of fact, this is the title of the video, is the grave of Desmond Doss.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody who is unfamiliar with his story, Desmond Doss was a conscientious objector in World War II, refused to hold a rifle, but wanted to serve, went in as a combat medic and served in the 77th Infantry Division, fought in the Philippines, fought in the Battle of Okinawa, and long story short, was awarded the Medal of Honor for acts of heroism there at Okinawa, which was just one of the bloodiest, muddiest engagements that you can possibly imagine. Most people are familiar with his story from the movie Hacksaw Ridge. So I wanted to go to his grave and show where he's buried and things like that. So I post that video, and I get a comment that says, it said, thank you for visiting Desmond Doss's grave, and for honoring him and his memory the way you did. I'm kind of paraphrasing the comment, but it ended with him saying, I'm actually in the car with his son right now, and I'm going to show him this video as soon as we get to our destination.
Oh, wow.
I was like, well, dang. And then later on, got a really nice message from Desmond Doss's son, concerning that video and thanking me for it. That's the one where I just dropped my jaw.
That's so
like,
cool.
Holy cow.
That would floor you. That's amazing. Oh, wow.
That's amazing. So what are some, so you're traveling, obviously traveling a lot, or had been.
Yeah.
What has happened? What's the pandemic? How's that affected you as far as traveling and producing these videos?
Uh, yeah, it's been a bit of an inconvenience.
Yeah,
So of course, my inconvenience is minor compared to, how it's inconvenienced others, as
sure.
far as people who may have lost their job, or people who have been severely affected with their health or anything like that. So um, I don't want to sound like the pandemic has victimized me, in any kind of way. As far as how it's affected travel, so whenever I filmed that series where I was in Normandy and in um, other parts of France and in Belgium, that was in February of this year. And at that point, whenever we were over there, everything like China was collapsing
Mm,
with the COVID-19. So that's what everybody was talking about. And then, we get back to the United States, and then that's when everything shut
Just in
down.
time.
I was supposed to be leading a tour group of students over to Rome in March, and 2 weeks out, everything shut down,
yep,
and it
I
got
get it.
canceled.
Yeah.
So that has kind of thrown a little bit of a curveball. I was gonna have some cool videos on Rome, but that didn't happen.
Oh wow.
Um,
I was
but
wondering, you had talked in, I'm trying to think of where I saw it. It might have been on Instagram or something about possibly doing meetups. And or you said, I think around Chattanooga or something. You also talked in the Currahee video about possibly groups of people getting together to go do some cleanup there. And I was
yeah,
wondering if you had ever considered doing group tours, things like that, leading people to, again, kind of that, to actually do it firsthand, to be at these places firsthand. When I grew up, that was so impactful because, again,
yeah,
we heard the stories, and then to actually go and go, oh, I'm actually standing here where
right,
these guys were, is like, it's jarring in a really good way.
yeah. So uh, I'm still looking at doing the group meetup, um, and it's going to be in Chattanooga, is where it is. I'm just kind of hanging back a little bit to see where things are going with, over the next month. My hope is that things really kind of start to subside, and then I'm going to put that together for Chattanooga. So that'll be the first one, and what that is, I'll have people that'll reach out to me often and say, hey, if you're ever in Pittsburgh, or if you're ever in Oklahoma City, hey, hit me up. Would love to sit down and, have a meal with you or hang out with you whenever you're going and filming, which, by the way, would be the most painful thing that anybody could ever do, is watch me film these things. It has to be the most frustrating thing ever, to watch me just stumble my way through these things. But anyway, so I thought, oh, maybe it'd be fun to do like a group meetup. Um, so I put a thing out there seeing if there would be any interest. The interest ended up being way bigger than I anticipated. Um, I put out some options, and, on the little poll said, here's what we're looking at doing. Here's when I would be looking at doing it, and then gave three options. One was, yes, I would definitely do that for that weekend. One was, possibly would have to wait until it's closer, and then one was no, wouldn't be able to at all, at least at that time or date or place. I expected 15, 20 people would maybe say, hell yeah, would definitely do that. It ended up being around 300 who said that, and I
Wow.
was like, oh, I don't know if we can do 300. So just because, I would want to be able to talk to everybody, and that'd be way too many people. So I'm going to try and keep it like a small group, like maybe around 50. But my biggest goal would be to do a trip to Normandy. And
See,
take
that
take a
was
group
my
of
next
people.
question. Like, I don't, without doing spoiler alerts, like,
Mhm.
what are your, I don't know if you want to call it bucket list, like, top three things you'd really like to go do a video
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
places, people, whatever, your
Oh,
dream list.
my dream list. Oh my gosh, you
You don't
you
have to
just
give it,
asked me.
top three, top five, whatever you want to do.
You just asked me to pick my favorite kid. So I I've been to Germany before. I took a student group over there at one point. I really want to go back to Germany now that I've got the YouTube thing going, and go back to like Hitler's Eagle's Nest in Berchtesgaden and Dachau concentration camp. I've been to Dachau before with the student group that I led, but I would like to go back with a camera and be able to show that. There are some other places there in Germany that I would like to hit. So that's I know that I know that I just named a cluster of them rather than one.
There's no real limit. You won't be penalized.
Yeah.
You won't lose any points in the final round.
I would also like to go over to Peleliu, which is an island in the South Pacific. If you ever watched the HBO series The Pacific or read With the Old Breed by Eugene Sledge, Peleliu figures pretty prominently there, and that would be pretty cool. In case people haven't figured it out, I'm interested in everything, but I lean more towards military history and things.
I had wondered if you had military background at all, or is that just the byproduct of growing up in a family that was?
That's one of the biggest I think misconceptions about me is that I'm former military. I ended up going into I considered it, was in college, but I ended up getting hired into a teaching position really before I even graduated college. So I mean, the Lord just had a different path for me. But yeah, a lot of people think that. I had somebody leave a comment the other day, thanking me for my service, and
that's cool.
Thought that I was ex-special forces. Which I guess
you should have went with that, man.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's cool.
You don't want to do stolen valor, but
I would have believed it. I would have believed it.
If you can get a free trip to Applebee's on it, then, you know.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, but no, I've not served in the military.
Okay, I just was curious about it. Like I said, similar. I had 3 siblings in the military. My uncles were all World War, with the exception of one who was too young. Were all World War II guys, and so yeah, I just grew up in that, kind of hearing that and with a love for it. I don't know why I've always had this weird obsession kind of thing with World War II stuff.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, my friends and I went to the military surplus store and bought the old helmet liners, and we would march in the backyard, and I would make them do push-ups. And I never went in the military, and it's not hard to look at me and figure that out. But you know, it's like I had a deep love for it, and Sergeant Rock comic books and all that stuff. That's all I wanted to do, was talk World War II and watch World War II. And
I'm the same way, and I'm a big into collecting. I would love to open up my own museum one of these days. I think that'd
be crazy.
Cool.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, that's one big misconception. The other big misconception is that I'm wealthy, and that I just travel around all the time and go to all these wild places, and that's what I do. In reality, I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of videos. I'll film them. I'll just go crazy and film a whole bunch of stuff like in a 1-week cluster. So for example, the France and Belgium series, I think there's 20 to 25 episodes there. I was over in Europe like a week. But whenever you watch the videos, I guess people think that I'm just kind of doing it live.
Right.
And
well, again, the production, the production is that level quality. It has a real narrative to it. It doesn't feel like forced rushed. I'm filming. When I do something like that, I've done things where I go out of town and like, okay, while I'm here, I got every last minute that I'm not doing something else, I have to have the camera out, and you're just trying to get everything. And it feels that way. It's a little too frenetic. It doesn't relax. And you seem very like I'm just here and I'm walking and I'm talking, and it's established a rapport. We've talked about that in the
I think that's probably the allure of your videos, is that it's not so overproduced documentary. You're not so refined and practiced with a script. It's like hanging out with you and walking and you telling me information stuff. It's not. I think that's what makes it so unique. Is it's just so easy to watch, because it's like, oh, this is a guy who's enjoying, loving, seeing these things in history, and he's taking me along on it. That's what I feel like. I don't feel like I'm on the Discovery Channel.
Yeah, you called it accessible before, and I think
accessible.
of it. We've talked about the whole podcast thing, and what really makes a podcast work is a rapport. That you're not just watching it; you kind of, on a certain level, feel like you're actually sitting there taking part in that conversation. And when I watch your videos, that's how I feel. Like I said, when you went in the place in Maine and the bunkers and stuff, I was just, I could almost smell it. I wanted to be there so bad. It was like, go in, go inside.
Well, and just pointing out some things. I mean, just the simple things you point out, it kind of brings that narrative transportation to the watchers, the people that are watching that, and going, "Wow, that's cool." You're pointing out textures. You're pointing out things like that you notice that people just may kind of pass by. But so it gives that more of a sense of, I'm really there. I'm really connecting with it. So that's what I like.
Whenever I'm doing the episodes, so it's kind of a split. Like for Normandy, I poured a lot of research into that, and of course that was kind of a little bit my wheelhouse anyway. It's something I already had interested in and had already studied a lot anyway. Even still, there were a few things that I didn't, just little minor details that annoy me now. Like in one of the episodes, there's a Medal of Honor recipient by the name of Jimmy Monteith. And I mispronounce his name. I call him Monteith, and that just grates on me to this day. But so there's a lot of the stuff that I do a lot of heavy research and spend hours upon hours getting ready for. And then there's other times I'm carrying around the camera, and literally the viewer is seeing things at the same time that I am.
That's what's cool.
So that can be a little bit dangerous too, because if I see something and I'm like, this looks, I try to be careful in the episodes to not say, oh yeah, this is exactly what this is, if I really don't know. But anyway, so yeah, a lot of people are just seeing things at the same time that I am. Then I have a lot of people get mad at me that I don't know things. They're like, how could you not know that? I'm learning right along with everybody else.
That's the nature of the internet.
Yes, naturally.
The birth of the expert class. I was flipping around on. I was checking out the different social media alternatives the other day, and I was flipping through Gab, and I'm like, one thing Gab is not short on is experts. Everyone on there is an expert. They all know everything, and you're stupid.
So. Well, and in that case with me, they're absolutely right. So they'll correct me on something, or they'll say, that's actually what this is, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, thank you.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't get too spun up about anything.
You can't.
It would take all of your energy if you started with with especially comments on YouTube and just social media in general. Yeah. First rule. So share with us, I mean, as much as you want to. Like I said, we talked in the email about, and we're not looking to be divisive. What we kind of do is like discuss issues that we see, and then we try to find root causes, because I don't think you solve problems without looking at root causes. And we had kind of opened up this discussion about your experience on Currahee. So if you'd want to kind of do your own paraphrase, share that how you would want to. What I really want to hear about, what I was really curious about, and of course you don't do opinion much in your videos, was you said, and I had this conversation, you're talking about trying to express the history of this place.
Yeah.
And I really would like to hear about that interchange, and like I said, paint it in as broad a strokes as you want and however you choose to characterize it.
Yeah, sure. So Currahee is a mountain outside of the city of Toccoa in northern Georgia. And if anybody has watched the series Band of Brothers, this is a mountain that you know well. For those who maybe haven't seen the series, there was a company in the 101st Airborne called Easy Company during World War II. that trained at Camp Toccoa. And Toccoa is where all of the parachute infantry regiments, or one of the places rather, where they trained to go. There was 3 that ended up going to Europe, and one of the regiments that ended up going to the Pacific Theater. But anyway, this mountain Currahee is kind of looms large at this camp because the people that trained there would have to run up and down. So it's 3 miles up, 3 miles down.
And I don't want to interrupt, but what did you say? Because you mentioned what the required time was that they had to do that and to actually graduate the school. Was it 48 minutes?
48 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. Up and down.
Wow.
And it doesn't go straight up. You said it's like this, like a roller coaster as it goes up and down.
Oh, let me tell you, it's a grinder. So I wanted, whenever I went there, I wanted to kind of retrace those steps and go, the 3 miles up and 3 miles down, and decided to make a challenge out of it, and put on a heavy pack and carried like this kettlebell.
Ate a lot of spaghetti.
Yeah, yeah. About a quarter way up the mountain, I was like, this might have been dumb because it is just a beast. So anyway, for anybody that goes there, and there are people from all over the world who come to this place, and all of them want to go up to Currahee. So you can drive to the top as well. So that's what smart people do. So I get to the top, and you're expecting to see this place where men like Dick Winters and Carwood Lipton and Bill Garnier and Frank Perconte, all these people trained, and this place was so important in the training of these men. And I got up there and found myself just so deeply disappointed by what I saw. The whole area is completely just marred and covered with graffiti and vandalism, and they got these radio towers up there too, which are kind of ugly. But I knew that going up because you can see it from the bottom. But you get up there and there's trash everywhere. So I get up there and I'm like, dang, this is awful. And there were 4 high school age girls who were there, and I talk about this in one of the videos. And they're spray painting. Okay, they're spray painting the rocks and putting little slogans on there and everything like that. So after I got to catching my breath and could talk again, I kind of engaged them and said, hey, do you girls know anything about the history of this place? No. And I started to, long story short, started to tell them a little bit about it.
That's not allowed here. Long story, extra long.
You can say it, but that doesn't mean anything.
So the more that I talked to them, it became clear that these girls knew nothing about the local history, for one thing. But even worse, they knew nothing about World War II. So I kept asking them questions. And they were like, no, haven't heard of that. No, haven't heard of that. So finally I asked them, okay, have you ever heard of Adolf Hitler? And they were like, yeah, that name sounds familiar. So they had and this blew me away. They had barely heard of Adolf Hitler, knew nothing of World War II. So I kind of gave them a quick rundown, explained what happened on the mountain. Good grief. Then it took me forever to get it through their heads that the men who died didn't die on that mountain, because they were like, wait, there was a battle here? And I'm like, no, there was not. It was in Europe. But they knew nothing. So I talked with the people at Camp Toccoa about it, and they said it's a huge problem. They said everybody that comes here, they talk about the graffiti. And George, one of the guys that's on the board there at Camp Toccoa, said once a week he drives up and just fills bags with trash. And I was like, man, this is horrible. What can I do? So I, made this video, went back the next day, drove up, and made a video about it, just kind of showing what's there. While I was there, there were two cars that came at different times. One was a family from Florida. They get out of the car, they see the graffiti, and that's all that they could talk about. They were just
completely missed
horrified
the
by
history
it.
of it.
And then there was a pair of brothers. They're probably in their 50s, I guess, from New York, drove up. They get out, same thing. So nobody goes up there to reflect on the bravery of these men or the story of the men from Easy Company. They get up there and they talk about the graffiti. So I wanted to do something about it. So yeah, made a video, and the response has been kind of crazy.